In this video, I'm going to show you how to insert a test or quiz. We're going to add, so I'm in my course in Schoology, and I'm going to add materials. I can either add materials here by clicking Add Test or Quiz, or I can find the spot where I want the test to be, and I can add it in that spot. Because remember, if you add materials from this top button, it adds it to the bottom of the list. So I'm going to add my test or quiz right here. I do have a video in Beyond the Basics on how to import an exam view file. So if you have an exam view test that you use, you can easily export and import that right into Schoology. This video is to create a test from scratch on Schoology. So I'm going to name this. Let's say this is Chapter 1 Test. Actually, I'm going to just call it quiz. You can add a due date, and if you do, it will show up on their calendar. So I'm going to make that on the 21st. If you want it to be able to sync with Schoology, you need to add a category, a grading category. If you don't want it to sync with Schoology, leave it as ungraded. So I'm going to leave it as ungraded right now. You can use a numeric scale, you can use the A-B scale. You can individually assign the test to a certain person by assigning it to a specific user member. You can make it visible, or if I hide it right away, so when I push create, is it going to be visible or hidden from students. I can allow students to see the grade statistics, like the mean, the average, the high and low scores. If you want comments enabled on the test, so they would be able to, before they take the test, there's a comment box. And then you can also copy into different classes. But on tests and quizzes, the one thing I guess is you can only copy it after you have created questions. So I'll show you, after we create questions, how to copy it into another course. So I'm going to create this quiz. It's going to open right up into the questions. So there's multiple different types of questions that Schoology allows. You have true, false, multiple choice. You can put something in order where you're going to drag and drop the different terms. There's short answer or essays, fill in the blank, and matching. In the Beyond the Basics, you can go see how to use the question banks and importing tests or quizzes. So I'm going to put a true-false question. So this is my question at matter subspace and has mass. So you can change the text for true and false. I usually leave it as true or false, and then you can choose your correct answer. This would be true. You can also, if the answer is false, you require a correction, and they'll have a correction box when they select false, which is kind of a neat feature. You can make that question timed, and the subjective questions are not automatically graded, so you would go in and actually grade those specific questions. So if it depends on their explanation or something, then you will have to go in and manually grade it. I can make the question worth 10 points. I usually change it to 1. You can change it to 0, and this is how I put bonus questions in. I put them as 0 points, and then I go in and manually change those to 1 point if they get 1 out of 0 points then for the bonus questions. And then advanced, you can also, into individual questions, align a learning objective. Go to the Beyond the Basics, and you can see how to align learning objectives to assignments, to files, and individual test questions here too. One other option is the feedback option. So you can have the feedback, it will give them feedback based on their answer. If I show feedback, I can see if they gave an incorrect response, this is what the feedback would be. If they gave the correct response, this is what the feedback would be. And you don't have to fill both of them in. You can just do the incorrect, and you do that by clicking on this pencil to get the rich text editor, and then you would type in what you want to give as feedback. So I think I have my question created how I want. So I'm going to hit create question. And there is our question here, our true false. So now let's create a multiple choice question. All of these are matter except, and then I can put different choices in. Okay, so I have my different choices. I can even add more choices here if I want. I can remove choices if you only want 3. So I'm going to, my correct answer would be choice 2. I can rearrange my choices too, but the one thing with multiple choice down here in our settings, we can make it randomize the choices. So automatically all the choices will be randomized. Every person's test will have different order of answers. You can allow partial credit. If you allow partial credit, you will have to go in and, well, you can assign, actually, let's click on that. Oh, you can't make. So if you allow partial credit, if multiple answers exist, the student will receive a proportional value for each correct answer. So I can see this being used in math, like if you did if you used a multiple choice question format, and let's say you added instead of subtracted one step, and you wanted to get half the credit, you can change that. You can also make it timed, and you can change the points of the question. I usually use 1, and then again you can align learning objectives. So I'm going to create this question. And here's my question. Now if you ever want to go and edit it, you have the settings that you can go and edit, and you can edit all of these. Now if you want to edit the answers, if you want to use rich text, I guess you hover over this, and this is how you could even import a picture. So if you want pictures to be your answers, I can come in here in image and media. I can import a picture, or a video, even a YouTube video could be one of my answer choices. So that's how you would import pictures for an answer. You can also do that in your question. If you want to have a video or a link or a media, you can always do that as well. Okay, I didn't really make any changes. I'm going to push cancel. So I have my 2 questions. Let's look at the ordering question. So I'm going to say put these in order. And this is collect data, analyze data. Let's see, and then I'm going to write conclusion. And then I'm going to add another choice. I'm going to add one, and I'm going to say publish. So this is the order of the scientific method. And you can allow partial credit, make it a time question again, and change the points that it's worth, and assign a learning objective. We'll go and preview what these look like after we have them created. So now I'm going to add, let's try a short answer essay question. Is pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to say, what is the law of observation of mass? So you can write a character limit, like they have to answer this, and less than 400 is the default. You can change that to anything. You can allow rich text answers, meaning they're going to have the same type of box where they can insert links, they can insert a picture, they can make an audio video recording, and right here you can allow the video or audio answers. So you can even hide the text field where they can't type, but they have to give a video or audio answer, which for language I could see this being used to actually have to verbally give an answer for that question. And again, you can make it timed. You can change between a short or essay question. It just changes the amount of space when you can print this test or when they're typing. You can change the number of points. Maybe you do want the essay question to be 10 points. You can also use a rubric. If you go to Beyond the Basics, there's a section on using rubrics. You can assign a rubric, which I don't have any in this class, but you can create one for specific questions even, so that I can give some feedback to them. And then you can also align learning objectives. So I'm going to create this question. Here's my fourth question. Let's look at fill in the blank. So I'm going to say blank is the father of the periodic table. So then you can have different blanks too. Like I can have 2 different blanks, and you can see it shows each blank down here. So I'm going to get rid of this one. I'm going to just have 1 blank. I can allow partial credit. I can make a word bank if I want them to choose from the words. I can make it case sensitive or not. I'm probably in this case wouldn't use it as case sensitive, and I can make it timed, change the points again, and assign learning objectives. So there's a lot of different options that you can do for a fill in the blank question here. So I'm going to create that question. Oh, I have to give the answer, huh? Let's add a next question is matching. So I can give some instruction here. Match the term to the correct definition. So I can say this, and the answer would be uniform and then this would be and you can have several different questions here. So I'm going to remove some of these because I'm only going to just do 2. So remove the extra. Now I can have filler words. So if I have just 2 answers but I want a choice of 5 words, I can also add an extra word. So I'm going to put solution here. And I can add another. And those are my filler words. So I'm going to have 4 options to the 2 questions. I can allow partial credit. For matching, you do want to allow partial credit because if there's 4 terms that they have to match and they get 3 out of the 4 right, it's going to count the whole question wrong if you don't have allow partial credit checked. Whereas if they got 3 out of the 4 correct, if you have allow partial credit, they'll get 3 out of the 4 points. So usually you do want to allow partial credit on matching. You can make this subjective so that it won't automatically grade it. You have to come in and grade it yourself, and you can make it timed. And I can make this worth, so I have two answers, I can make it worth 2 points then, or however you want to do that. You can also align learning objectives, so I'm going to create that question, and I have these questions. Now, the other things, these are not questions, but you can make a page break, so they have to go to the next page or text. So let's add both of these in here. The page break you don't really have to do anything with. It just, there's no text with it. But here you can have text where you have an option of, this is just some instructions. So answer these questions. I don't know, maybe you might have a bonus section or something like that. So I'm going to create that. And then if I want to reorder these questions, I hit options and I want to reorder these. So let's say I want my page break right here, and then I want this right here, and this is going to be, I have to make sure I hit save changes, and then it will save that order. Okay, so now that we have our question made, let's go and preview this. So this is what it will look like. They will hit begin test or quiz, and then they have their questions. So I'm going to hit true. I know the answers for these. Okay, so for the putting order, do you see how it randomized the order, and then I have to drag and drop the order of these questions. I'm going to leave that out of order and show you how the grading works. Actually, I can't submit it. And then here is the question. So they will just be able to type in. If you had clicked Rich Text Editor, it would have had, when they clicked on here, it would have like insert link and all those different editing tools there. Okay, I'm going to hit next page. This is where my page break was. And now I go on to question 5. I can fill in my blank. And then when I do a matching term, what's kind of nice is it will show a line. So let's say homogeneous as uniform, so I can see the line right where I have answered. So it's kind of a nice feature right there. As a teacher, when I'm previewing it, I can't submit, so I can't show how the grading works. So that was a lot of stuff about creating the test or quiz, but hopefully it helps answer questions, gives you some ideas of how you can use different types of questions within Schoology. And if you have any questions, make sure you contact me.